Power and peace. Power and peace, black family. Assalamu alaikum. Hotep. Free the land. Abarigani. Yebo. Whatever greeting you deem necessary. Brother Patrick Lumumba with the Black Liberation Movement. We back again today after a few weeks of missing our broadcast for various reasons. Part of the reasons we've been boots on the ground concerning the matter that we want to talk about tonight. Been busy trying to get a course of action executed on behalf of justice that has been due to us for over 67 years. I'd like to thank everybody for coming on tonight. Our sister Cheryl Potts, New Black Panther Party, our sister Queen Miller, Renee, the Black Liberation Movement, our brother Professor Carl Tone Jones, who's on with us tonight. We're going to have a very important conversation tonight. A very important conversation that weighed heavy on the heart of our brother Patrick Lumumba, weighed heavy on my heart yesterday. And it's still weighing heavy on my heart. And I've been contemplating this conversation all day. Now, with us, we have our Grand Baba General, Baba Kamal Kareem, that'll be along with us today to help us bring clarity to this issue. We got to understand today, our people, that we, and I get tired of saying it, I get tired of hearing people saying it, we most definitely is at war. War has been waged on black people since we were dragged from the shores of our motherland to this very day. We have not properly responded in no shape or form to the war and the infliction of pain, suffering, and oppression that have been thrust upon our people. So today, we want to talk about Emmett Till, an issue of black humanity. Emmett Till, an issue of black humanity. Thank everybody for tuning in tonight to the Black Liberation Movement podcast. We want you to be instrumental in this conversation. We have had what I consider one of the biggest miscarriages of justice that I have known in my life. And I guess I feel the gravity of it because we were boots on the ground in this matter. We were frontline soldiers in this matter. And for the news to break yesterday that there would be no indictment of one Carolyn Bryant Dunham, it was devastating to me. So without further ado, we want Kamal Kareem for some introductory statements from him to be made so that we can delve deeper into this conversation. We want to be about an hour in this conversation. So we want to get to the chase with what it is that we want to discuss. And we want to hear from you all tonight because we have had a travesty, a miscarriage of justice. And we have had the wool pulled over the eyes of black people once again. And we want to talk to those issues tonight. Tonight, we're talking about Emmett Till, an issue of black humanity. Share this broadcast. You care about the humanity of black people, and you care about the critical conversation that should be precipitated from things that's happening in our society, such as deeds. share this broadcast. How you doing, bro?
Doing fine, sir. Can you hear me pretty good?
I can hear you loud and clear. I can hear
To
you loud and clear. All
to,
right, all
to all
right.
sisters who are listening, certainly we greet you. To some they say Aman, to some they say Orishi, others Shango, to some they say Allah, some they say Jehovah, some they say the Christ, but we know that the Creator is Almighty, and certainly I greet you in in peace and in liberation for our people. Certainly, yesterday's decision uh, that came out of the grand jury was a horrific travesty of justice, but it shows the example of the type of beast in Mississippi, and I said beast, that we are fighting and that we're dealing with. Uh, One of the things that the nation, as I listen to different reports, different black networks, and different uh, anchors on television, the bewilderment is by LaFleur County being a 74, almost 70%, 75% county, then that means that the majority of this grand jury were our people that, including the district attorney, that made the decision or the deliberation of not to execute the warrant or prosecute. Now, on one hand, they did honor the request of the petition. They did convene the grand jury, but someone in higher places has sat down with this DA, and for political reasons, national political reasons, they have squashed this case. What I want our brothers and sisters to realize and understand is that Mississippi is at the forefront of national politics just simply by virtue of the fact that Congressman Benny Thompson heads the January 6th Insurrection Committee. With that being said, as he carries water for the Democratic Party and tries to give black eyes to the Republican Party and Donald Trump, they do not want this type of discord or a show of a lack of democracy in the heart of his district. And so they want to put it to bed. They want to put all of these controversies, issues to rest before they get deep off into this congressional race cycle as they compete for the power of the House and the Senate of this country. What we have to understand is, first of all, the condition of our people and what we're fighting. We're fighting on two fronts. We're fighting to protect against and defend against the ignorance of the community in, number one, the relationship of how we feel about white folks. And I say this all the time, our relationship, and I'm talking about in general, our people's relationship is like a woman in a bad relationship whose husband hits her and beats her, in some instances kills her, or even in this instance, kills her children, okay? And yet we cannot do without you. We just love you so much. We need your validation. See, look, I have even given up my name for you. I don't have my own name. I have your name. I don't have my own life. I have your life. I'm totally dependent upon you. So I'm going to do whatever I need to do to get your validation. This is the relationship that our people have with the white man, with the oppressor. And so in that, we have to be diligent in preserving the cultural continuity and the revolutionary heritage that we must maintain. Now, the Emmett Till issue was the tip of the iceberg of ongoing inhumane justice issue. What we're talking about is our own humanity, and our own humanity is not only questioned with the murder of a child, Emmett Lewis Till, in 1955, but the murder of others, the murder of others throughout the state and throughout this nation, where police officers protect themselves by qualified immunity, the unjust incarceration and disproportionate sentencing of persons such as Alan Russell, who got life
Okay,
without the possibility of parole,
no doubt.
1.5
Okay,
1.5 ounces of marijuana. But not only that, but the disenfranchisement statewide of all of our people who are have been formerly incarcerated, who are unable to participate in the voting process, even though they have done their time, which is about a fourth of our voting population. This is why we do not have an elected official who is of African descent, who is statewide. And that's why we can't
Okay,
get anybody elected statewide because of this travesty. But not
Bob
only that,
Kamal.
yes, sir.
Crystal, can he not hear me when I'm trying to say something?
I can hear you.
You can hear me? Okay, because this is what we got going on. I'm simultaneously in a conversation that's taking place across the nation with some brothers in the Revolutionary Central uh, uh, group right here. So what they trying to determine is some things that we want to hash out that I wrote down in basically a syllabus and conducting and compartmentalizing this conversation. Now, you said a lot, Bob Kamal, but we want to go back so that these people can understand, because people are scurrying right now, for real clarity on what's going on. Just last week, I got a call from a brother by the name of General Ghazi that was very concerned about what measures to take about the apprehension of Carolyn Bryan Dunham, so on and so forth. What were we to do? Now, in between that span of time, which was less than a week, we have went from giving clarity that we were in a legal recourse of actually getting a petition signed and drawn up. Is Baba Kamal still there, or have he froze up? Look like he froze up.
I still can hear you.
Okay, you still can hear me. Okay, getting a petition signed and from the citizens in LaFleur County that was going to put pressure on the DA to basically convene a grand jury and execute this warrant at some point. That was the measures that were to be taken. That was the process that was in place. Now, pretty much we came to a consensus on on that measure being what we would be doing, pushing forward, and everybody getting behind that measure to make this happen. In this time, we get the news yesterday that of these fines that we have now. Now, this is a whole lot that's taking place. So when we begin to break this down and talk about what has just taken place, we go into talking about uh, black people. One of the questions black people in the predominantly black county, LaFleur County. One of the biggest things that being said, like Brother Nick Bezel. Brother Nick Bezel is very concerned about the demographical makeup of LaFleur County. Because what people are perplexed with is the fact that we have a predominantly black county, 73% black county. And you and I both know this is what we're doing with Mississippi on the Move. The whole agenda of Mississippi on the Move is to go into black townships, predominantly black townships, so that we can begin a conversation in an atmosphere, in a place, in a demographic that's actually conducive and has all the capabilities of producing what it is that we're talking about. That's what being predominantly black should be all about. But one thing came to my mind: being predominantly black don't mean that black people in power. Historically speaking, every plantation was predominantly black. Every plantation that ever exists was predominantly black, but it was controlled by white people. We have to stop running these predominantly black townships like plantations, or allowing them to be ran like plantations. So what I want to do for these brothers, because I told them to tune in to our Facebook page and live streaming this, because people are scurrying to get information and to get clarity on this stuff. So what we want to do right here in Mississippi And we're trying to make sure that we are giving people what it actually is. Peace, Brother Lorenzo Sim. Thank you for chiming in. Make sure you share this with the brothers on the ground here in Mississippi so that they can get this information. That is a problem, Baba Kamal. Black leadership in predominantly black townships and counties. This, in this case, it's a whole county. So we want to speak to this, and I want people to chime in on this right here. We need to speak to uh, the uh, the issue that we have. Why are we continuing to have this issue? I got a great idea, but I want our people to really internalize why are we having these problems that's causing us so much heartache, pain, and suffering in these townships when we are basically controlled, well, as far as positions are concerned, by our own people. I mean, Crystal, could you play that clip before Baba Kamal respond to that? Could you play the clip? This is something that I have deep in my heart. Why are we allowing our own black oppressors? Could you play that clip?
Dwayne Richardson.
Right, call him.
You
Call him out.
are the DA locally here. I want to talk to the councilman. You elected your own black oppressor. The brother is good at his job. That's right. He Floyd Mayweather in the courtroom when it comes to knocking out brothers. You don't even realize that Emmett Till is the reason why you stand as a DA. But Dwayne, you stand on the shoulders of Emmett Till. You knock brothers out every day in court.
Come on.
To Parliament you go. To Parliament you go. I'm not saying you're not justified in doing that. If they committed the crime, they have to do the time. But my brother, you don't want to knock these white folks out? You don't want to come to bat for Emmett Till and the humanity of black people? You don't want to come to the ring and fight and put the gloves on for us?
That was us down on the courthouse lawn in Greenwood, Mississippi. And what that was a spirited question that was posed to the power that be in Greenwood, that has the power to execute that warrant. Now, as I stood there, Baba Kamal, what I noticed, I didn't have no mainstream people there. What do you mean, Brother Lumumba? What do you mean no mainstream? No mainstream black people were there. There were no ministers there. We talking about Emmett Till. There was no black professional class there. There was no mainstream there. We were the extremists out there. But what I want to point out is that this is where the call always comes from. On those very grounds in Greenwood, Mississippi, was where Kwame Ture and Baba Mikasa Ricks first introduced the term Black Power. So we were talking to Dwayne Richardson that day about his capitulated power. When are you going to come to bat for black people? This is the question that's being asked across the country. Not that it don't happen anywhere else, but eyes are on Mississippi right now. So, Bob Kamal, if you will, speak to that capitulated black leadership that's continuing to fail black people in these most pressing times. Could you speak to that?
Yes, sir. What we have to do is we have to change our direction of thinking in terms of removing black capitulated leadership. And since this has transpired with this Emmett Till grand jury decision, one of the first things that we should do on the political realm is seek diligently to replace Dwayne Richardson with someone who would serve the best interest of the African community. Certainly what he did with that grand jury, and certainly what he did with that makeup, because see, the DA has the power to indict a ham sandwich, if you will. That's just how much power a DA has. And for him to stand on the shoulders of Emmett Till, as the brother said, and for him to capitulate in such a way, and to get all of those others, they said they deliberated for 7 hours. You didn't have to deliberate for 7 hours. And the least they could have came up with in rendering this decision was to recharge her for perjury, because she lied and said that she lied. Then she said that I didn't say that I lied. To call her in just for perjury on the case and perjury alone. But they did not execute nor do their job, and they did not do black people's humanity just. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to continue to organize on the ground, continue to organize LaFleur County and other counties where we have problems like this, where our elected officials, black people in leadership, are so in love with white folks that they would do their bidding and deny the interests of their own people. We're going to have to diligently work towards this. Now, county elections, they come up next year. And Dwayne Richardson does not need to continue as district attorney. If there are any attorneys who are listening that live in those counties or adjoining counties, if you know of any attorneys that are interested in helping the elevation and preserving the justice of their community, I would say that we're interested in talking with them to start bagging a slate of candidates, political candidates, not just in LaFleur County, but all over, to prevent this kind of atrocity from happening again.
No doubt. So, Bobby, so Mississippi on the Move is essentially a vetting process. And this was in the concepts of our mind when we sought out to even endeavor on a 10-city predominantly black town talk tour. How do we remove capitulated black leadership throughout Mississippi? We have stated for a fact Mississippi is the blackest state ratio to proportion than any other state in the United States of America. Despite all the horrific racism, the thick cloak of racism, Mississippi still is the blackest state ratio to proportion than every other state in the United States. So that means we do have the potential to be a nation state for black people. So Mississippi on the Move is all about talking to black people in predominantly black spaces and convincing us that it's time that we govern ourselves for the betterment of ourselves, for our future. You know, it's time that we start doing that. So Mississippi on the Move have become a vetting process. But what are we running into? We're running into capitulated leadership. We're running into diametric conversation in these meetings. And these meetings have to be more than just 3 hours. But we're doing our due diligence and just going in and beginning the conversation.
But Commander Lumumba, if I may say so, we have to take a page out of Kwame Toure's book. We have to organize at the grassroots level, even if it means doing county by county, one county by county, and trying to establish a slate to fulfill the people's need in terms of what's needed in each and respective community or county. As these county elections approach, and as many problems continue to persist, Mississippi has more black elected officials, matter of fact, than any state in the union. But what we need to come together and actualize is, because see, nobody says just by virtue of the fact that you black that you have to be a Democrat, and nobody says you have to be a Republican. We even need to explore the idea of a third political party to raise the issues of power and nation building dynamic for our people. But Dwayne Richardson, he has to go. Uh, he has to go for what he has did as a spit in the face to the civil rights movement, to the legacy of Emmett Till, whose shoulders he's upon, the reason why he has that office anyway, to capitulate to this inhumane injustice for no reason than just to help reestablish that there's justice for white folks and there's justice for black folks. Dwayne Richardson, he's got to go. He's got to go for the amount of brothers and sisters that he's willingly and eagerly sent to the penitentiary to satisfy a system of injustice. And so we're going to have to work on that. We're going to have to let him, the attorney general, know, and all the powers that be that sent him and he did their bidding, that we're not going to lay down on this, and that there's a price that you have to pay for spitting in the face of the humanity and the human dignity of black people.
Yes, sir. Jacqueline Marsaw, we had an opportunity to be down there with her, down boots on the ground, down in Natchez. She has stated that I can get names.
Okay.
Elaborate on that, sister. I think she's talking about, some names to replace
for attorneys to run.
Right, for attorneys to run against Dwayne. And this is the memo. This is the memo that's going out in Mississippi. And like we have stated, the grassroots organization in Mississippi got to become a tight, knitted operation. It got to be a tightly organized operation where these electors, these people that are elected to represent black people, you got to understand that it's consequences to failing in your duty with black people. These leaders, these so-called leaders, don't feel that there's any consequences to selling black folks out. I mean, for real, they don't believe any consequences to selling black folks out. And I'm gonna make a microcosm, and I think we're doing it rightfully so, to use Dwayne as an example. Now I don't know, I don't know, Bobby, what happened and transpired for them to go in. From what I'm seeing, secretly, we were right there on the ground. Dwayne Richardson never made a public appearance. He never felt the need to speak to the pain or to respond to what it was that we were doing out there. He never came in the face of any black people that we know of. He didn't go to one church and say, hey, look, let me talk about this Emmett Till situation. He didn't feel like he owed it to black people to stand before us and tell us, look, I know the history, and I stand as your DA, and these are my reasons. He didn't do that. Black people do not deserve that. And I think one of the biggest things that we need to be doing is making sure that black people understand fully the political process. And I'm for one that been in this fight for a long time, Bob. I haven't been putting my emphasis on the electorate side. My thing was more indigenous politics, pushing things that I felt really matter. But electorate positions in the black community really matter. So we have to make sure that we getting the right people in these spaces. And for you, Dwayne Richardson, to fumble the ball on black people in this hour, thinking you have done your job, is a travesty. And we have to set a clear example. And that's what organizing on the ground is all about. We have to make our people, I'm talking about the common black person, understand their value. We have to make us understand our value. When we have a predominantly black space, like all the spaces that we've been through, I see Brother Abdul Shaheed is on. Thank you, brother, for coming on. When we have predominantly black spaces, like a Holly Springs, Mississippi, home of Ida B. Wells, home of Alfred Skip Robinson. These are spaces that black people should be thriving in. These are places where black people shouldn't even be suffering the miscarriages of justice that we have suffered. But due to so much systematic oppression and sellouts, absolute sellouts to the humanity and the quality of black life that we have in these positions, we suffer. And that day is over with. That day should be absolutely over with. So what can we do? I seen Brother Ghazi put in the, what do we do now? You know, what do we do now? The movie is about to come out. You know, it's okay, Baba, for black people to experience pain. And I talked with Brother Abdul Shaheed this morning, and he said something that stayed with me to right now. He said, Brother Peck, he said, we got to redistribute this pain. That's what he said. He said, we have to redistribute the pain that black people have suffered. Now watch this. Fallacies in the politics, in the political process is at play. This how they play us, Bob. And I want you to chime in on this because I'm seeing this stuff. I'm seeing our young people saying these things because they're using logic. Now, did we not just have an Emmett Till anti-lynching bill passed? Did we not just have that happen in this country?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So right when we having an Emmett Till anti-lynching bill passed, we have a whole issue on Emmett Till that have reemerged. They get shut down. See, that's what I'm talking about. Blowing smoke up the ass of black people. Playing around with black people's emotions with this fake politics, this fake rage. Emmett Till anti-lynching bill passed. So anything with Emmett Till name attached to it should be looked at in a special way. But what? We just discovered a warrant that had been hid in the basement of Greenwood Courthouse for 67 years. Right at the edge, right on the edge in the fringes of the country, passing an Emmett Till anti-lynching bill. But black people get lynched. Hell, 3 weeks later, we get lynched. This is the political game that we getting played with. And I'm thinking that it got to be some serious movement on the ground from black people because we talking about our humanity. White people have made, they have determined what they think about black humanity. And they keep showing us. But my thing today is what do we think about our own humanity? You know? So we're going to wait on the movie, Bob, and we're going to get electrically charged all up. It's people that don't even know the story in the Till. Could you put a few of those pictures up from the trial that took place in Sumner, in Tallahatchie County? We took time to get these pictures. I know my brothers on the East Coast don't know nothing about what actually took place. Put some of those pictures up. Because I'm mad about this. I'm mad about this. And there should be some organization behind this because all our children, life is at stake here. There goes a scene right there from the Emmett Till trial. If ain't nobody ever took time to look at it. And I was just sitting in court last Thursday fighting for my cousin's life. And the scene looked pretty much like this right here. And that was 67 years ago. And the shit ain't changed. It ain't changed. Look at that. Do it look like any black justice coming out of that? Hope y'all understand what I'm saying. Because this is the type. This is what we should be understanding. Go ahead, Bob.
And then, Brother Lumumba, what I hope our listeners understand is that in our process of the removal of Dwayne Richardson, we have to understand that and use him as an example that capitulation of black leadership will not be tolerated. And so we have to turn what is a problem into these possibilities to create this opportunity. This is an opportunity for us to start and continue the groundswell in the Florida County and Sunflower County and wherever else he's represented as being a DA, and for the brothers and sisters to collect names of those who have pass the bar that would meet the standard of a DA. We meet and we select us a candidate, and we work feverishly day and night to remove his ass. What
That's right.
People have to understand is that there is a price. There has to be a price paid for disrespecting the humanity of your own self. It's bad enough that white people disrespect black folks' humanity, but to have black people to disrespect black people's humanity, this is going to stop now.
Yes, sir. Sister Crystal, hold that picture right there. Because this is what people need to internalize. I want y'all to feel the emotions of this particular broadcast right here. Okay? Because I feel the spirit of our ancestors working right now. Look at that picture. Look at Carolyn Bryant in that picture. At that particular time right there was a warrant for Carolyn Bryant's arrest while she sit there in the courtroom beside her husband, the murderer, with their two little boys in their lap. Okay? Internalize that picture. Because, see, I don't see no other way we're going to ignite our people. I don't see no other way we're going to ignite our people until we show them the raw truth, like what Mamie Till did. Mamie Till gaslit the whole civil rights movement by a decision she made as a mother. She knew it was bigger than her son. She didn't say, oh, I don't want nobody to see my son's corpse like that. She didn't say that. She didn't have no individual mindset about that. She understood the horrors, and she wanted to show the world not just what was done to Emmett Till, her son. She wanted to show the world the horrors of white supremacy. Look at that picture. These two little white boys, their life is obviously politically more important than ours. It was those little white boys that the sheriff, whatever his name was, who appeared at the door of Carolyn Bryant and what was his name, sir?
G.O. Smith.
G.O. Smith. That's why we have Babbas that lead this organization, like a Baba Kamal Kareem, because they are history books. Why leave your history book at home when you go into war? You need to know. G.O. Smith came to the door of Carolyn Bryant with an intention to arrest her. But when he seen the humanity of white people, he decided not to execute the warrant. He decided not to do his job because he seen the humanity of white people. I'm constantly telling y'all, when white people ascertain power, they don't lead a culture. They don't lead a culture. Lynn Finch, when she responded as the top prosecutor in Mississippi, that was a cultural response as the highest prosecutor in the state of Mississippi, appointed by Tate Reeves. She said, I'm not prosecuting this case. That's why I was asking, Dwayne, you not going to go to bat for us, Dwayne? You're not going to bat for black people? Lynn Finch go to bat for white people every day. She was appointed by a master oppressor, Tate Reeves, the governor of this state. But you were elected, Dwayne. You were elected by the citizens of LaFleur County, which is 73% black. So are you there because white people put you there, Dwayne? But those are your bosses. See, what we got to understand is that plantations were predominantly black too. And we got to get our people out of the slave mindset. We got to get them out of the slave mindset. Yes, sir. Bob Kamal, it's on you.
So we have plenty. We've got time to organize on the ground behind the right judicial candidates to get him out. And the narrative is just this simple. Dwayne Richardson, who stands upon the shoulders of Emmett Till for the post of district attorney, was negligent in his duty to give justice to black people who duly elected him. He needs to go and need to be replaced with male or female, someone that will. It's just that simple. And so we need to organize. We need to register this whole plethora of younger people who are not registered to vote. And we need to solidify all groups, including the Voters League, and regardless to what's said, because the damage has been done. I mean, other capitulated leadership should not be able to come and tell us, well, you need to let him alone. We should not even want to even listen to that narrative anymore, because he had the chance and we had the chance to get a hope of justice in a woman, a white woman, who was the finger pointer and lied about a black child that led to his murder, but she goes free, not by the hands of another white person, but by the hands of a black face that has a white intelligence. And so
right.
He has to go. He must go, of course, on that particular issue. And then furthermore, I just want to say the Attorney General of the state of Mississippi, she was out of order by even releasing a statement before he made his decision. But what she called herself doing was giving him his marching orders.
That's
and
right.
He has to understand that he has to pay the price for it.
That's right. That's right. That's right, Baba. I appreciate that. Now draw y'all attention to this courtroom. Draw your attention to this courtroom. Look at that picture. Look at that picture. They said this trial was tried in the presence of 12 white jurors. Well, there's a whole bunch of white people back there. Ain't none of them jurors. None of them jurors. That's it. J.W. Milam and Roy Bryant.
They made the black witnesses wait in the back.
They made the black witnesses wait in the back. Didn't even give them a seat in the courtroom. Okay? We talking about Mississippi justice. So what I want people across the nation to understand is that this is the type of racism that set the tone in America. White people in Mississippi have never hid the fact of their racism. Never. Like the clever ones or the so-called liberal ones that's all in the north or whatever. I'm talking about the thick cloak of racism that exists right here. They ain't got shit to be ashamed of. And I see white people right now running their whole campaign on overt racism. Donald Trump is the king, and he's the trendsetter of that. Run your whole campaign on overt racism. What you afraid of? That's what he's saying. Shit, we got all the power. What are we afraid of? You can run your whole campaign. January 6th proved that. Okay? So Donald Trump is a celebrity. All the political bullshitting around that they doing, Donald Trump is a celebrity amongst white people. It's a whole bunch of white people who feel like that, like he do. Look in that courtroom. This don't change. It ain't changed. John Henry Clark said that history is a set of events and circumstances that are gonna happen the way that they happen until we change them. You ain't gonna pray this away. This is a system. This is a system. And you ain't gonna go in there and change the system. You're gonna have to build you one. You're gonna have to build you one. This is a system. Don't even look like, I don't know if that's Roy Brown or not. Look like he got a cigarette in his hand. I don't even know if that's a cigarette or not. I don't even know. I mean,
that's both of them. That's Roy Bryant and J. Milam. That's both of them.
And Crystal put it up there, but I was looking at it. I mean, did he have a cigarette in his hand?
Yeah, sure he does.
There's no worries. There's no worries. Look at, you tried by a jury of your peers, and then you have the whole white community behind you. Not only do you have the whole white community behind you, you have the strength and power of the state Senate behind you. John Stennis, James O. Eastland stood behind these two men. Now you tell me we don't supposed to be having a response in Mississippi? We don't supposed to be having a response as black people? We can't tolerate a black capitulated leader not one more day. Not one more day. We need to organize around these realities. This is reality. This is one of the biggest miscarriages of justice that's going under, just going like water under the bridge if we don't do nothing about this. If we don't say nothing about this, we have to make the average black person aware of what's going down. We don't even think we attached to this, Bob. We don't even think that every one of our children are being judged when the United States government and these people come back with this type of decision. We don't even see how that affects us. You see?
That's right.
So,
That's right.
that's the challenge. Abdul Shaheed Muhammad, and other leaders across the state of Mississippi. They called me the other night, Baba, and said, Brother Lumumba, let's organize. We want to organize behind the Black Liberation Movement. We want to organize behind grassroots movement and leadership. So they ready. The people ready. The Panther Party is ready. The Black militias, they're ready. They're ready for leadership and true leadership. I'm tired of having to answer questions from across the nation. What's going on in Mississippi? No, this shit going on everywhere, but it's concentrated here. And if we respond in the proper manner, then the nation will follow suit. So that's what I feel. And that's where we at right now. We still at the junction in American society that there's no right that a black man has that white people are bound to respect.
That's right.
We have to change that. We have to change that. And I pointed this out by Patrick Moynihan. Let me get to it so I can make it right. Some of us may know Daniel Patrick Moynihan. Some of us may not. But it was something that he said that was very critical in my understanding as I began to mature as a blacktivist on my sojourn and journey. Patrick Moynihan was yeah, there he is right there. Look at that crowd. Look at him. Let me read this. Patrick Moynihan was an American politician, diplomat, and sociologist, a member of the Democratic Party. He was a member, watch this, he was a member of the Democratic Party. He represented New York in the United States Senate and served as an advisor to Republican President Richard Nixon. He was a Democratic Party leader, served in the United States Senate from New York, but he was an advisor to a Republican president, Richard Nixon. Patrick Moynihan, historically influential politician, that when asked, this is what I want people to understand. When asked about the political response to the problems of black people, he responded, "We see black people problems, but we have no political obligation to acknowledge them." He said, "We see black people problems."
That's that benign neglect. Something going on with the volume.
I think we got it. Can y'all hear me?
Okay. Yeah, that's that benign neglect.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Speak to that.
Yeah. Benign neglect was the advice that Daniel Patrick Moynihan gave to Richard Nixon to ignore and to encourage any black leadership that was politically elected to ignore any problems that we had all throughout the 70s. However, the benign neglect policy that Daniel Patrick Moynihan instituted still continues to this very day. That's why you can't get a John Lewis bill passed. That's why you can't get the George Floyd bill passed. That's why you still got to renew your voting rights every 25 years. That's why they have voter suppression laws that have not been corrected in these elections, particularly the southern states, particularly Georgia and other places, even Mississippi. So it's still in effect today. That's why it's very, very crucial that we organize, that we be politically and economically strong and have that power. That power is politically and economically to take our own reality, and define our own reality in terms of what we want and have other people to accept it as their own. And that's what we got to do, starting in LaFleur County and getting that DAs behind out of office. And so that election takes place next year, and we taking all potential candidates. We taking brothers and sisters, but your qualification, and I'm sure that Commander Lumumba and others will agree, your qualification has to be that you have to protect the sociological and biological, economic, and educational interests of the community. And one other thing that I want to say, that another reason why it's so important to get his ass out of there is this. The Attorney General, I heard her come on Mississippi Talks. And what she's going to do, she's going to try to get the state legislature to pass stricter laws where they will lock up brothers for child support enforcement. Okay. So that means that if, just say for instance, that you're a former inmate and you get out of jail and they won't give you a job because you've been a former inmate and have some children and you got child support out there, that means that they can come back and lock you up. They're going to be relentless, and they're going to use Negroes just like that DA to lock your sons, your uncles, your cousins, to lock them up for their inability to pay. Now, I'm not talking about a deadbeat dad. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a person's being locked up because they're impoverished. They got to pay their parole officer. Then they got to turn around, maybe have to pay restitution to stay free. Now you got child support on your back and you don't have no job because they're trying to feed this prison industrial complex.
No
and
doubt.
That's coming up 2023.
No doubt. No doubt. So we have to have some electorates with some backbone. You know, we got to have some electorates that understand the quality of Black life and willing to put the power that's appropriated from the people to work for the people. They got to stand, Barbara. We got to have some. We got to get these Negroes out the way.
I mean, got to go.
They got to go. I expect white people to do exactly what they're doing. I mean, seriously, the system ain't broke. The system is not broke. I expect them to do exactly what they're doing.
But also, Commander Lumumba, we have to understand white people promise to give us nothing. That's where we get off track at. We think that they promised to give us something. They promised us nothing.
That's right.
And we have to start doing for ourselves. We have to start politically, economically, educationally doing for ourselves and be willing to protect and defend our community for those political, economic, and educational gains. But we have to move toward that because they have not promised us to give us anything.
That's right. Put that. I see Brother Nick Bells. I want to come back to that. Put Marcellus Gray comment up there. Marcellus Gray comment. Okay, this brother just contacted me today, and I told that brother I'm gonna get with him ASAP. I'm gonna call you as soon as in the morning, Marcellus Gray. But he's a citizen of LaFleur County. Let's read what he said. This is in reference to
people here wrong since he's been in office.
Yeah, go ahead and read that.
Wrong, and we need someone that's going to treat our people fairly.
That's right.
Yes.
Now, what that brother is organizing, and I'm gonna make sure that we get some organization behind that brother, because that brother is a street gang, not street gang. He's a street organization organizer. Okay, the brothers have been in the belly of the beast in Mississippi. I had a conversation with him down in Greenwood in the park, and he talked about Greenwood. He talked about LaFleur County. He talked about the area down there, Baptist Town. Okay, he talked about Baptist Town, the Black community. When we sat out there with the elder that was sitting out there, I called her the history book of Greenwood, and she began to tell the history. She said, "Hey, I remember that man. Who was that? Stokely Carmichael. Yeah, I remember him. The history is there. It's still there." And this brother right here was talking about organizing around the gun violence, organizing around stopping the gun violence. But what we have to understand, it's a process and it's a reason why this violence has arrived. There we go, right there in the park. right there in the park. That picture shows us right there in the park. This is where I had that conversation with this young man, Marcellus Gray, who's doing great things in his community. He needs political help. He needs political help. But we suffering from benign neglect. Look what he said about his DA. Which brings us to, how was the DA elected? What was the vetting process? Put the comment up about with Brother Nick Bell. What was the vetting process? See, it has to be a vetting process. Y'all gonna have to start trusting people like, I'm gonna say myself. I think I'm qualified enough, been on the ground enough, with enough experience. No, I don't have the degrees. That's what's been fucking us up. The degrees. The degrees. No, I don't stand in the pulpit. That's what's been fucking us up. I'm gonna say it just like that. With no preacher out there with me. With no preacher out there. The degrees was working against us. Dwayne got them. Dwayne got the degree. But it's going to be people like the Nick Belzers, people like the Vashon Ferguson, the Lorenzo Sims, the Cheryl Potts, Baba Kamal Kareem, people like that, people who head in Ashe Academy, people who head in like Brother Abdul Shaheed. These are people that our people need to listen to. That becomes the vetting process. That is the vetting process. What is Mississippi on the Move? What is it all about? We going into predominantly black townships and ain't nobody there. So why do we have gun violence? We'll be down in Columbus, in your hometown, Baba Kamal, this Saturday.
Yes, sir.
And the whole issue is centered around gun violence. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Gun violence. What creates gun violence? Poverty. Vying for resources, for the same resources. All of these things become political. All of these things are political. So we have to fix our politics in our community. We got to distribute wealth in our community. We got a whole thing that we got to teach our people. But where did that process start? Like Brother Nick Belzer said, he said the vetting process has to start now. Right now. Our resources have to be put behind the ones who will be on code. Who's on code? Is the preacher on code? Is the degree Negro on code? We losing this fight because of capitulated black leadership. They not on no code. Well, yes, they are. They on white folk code. We got to get some people on our code. Like our brother Carl Tone Jones say, we got to get some W's. We taking too many L's. We got to get some W's. We got to get some wins. Our children have to see us win. They constantly seeing us lose. They got to see us win. So we in the midst of this fight. We in the midst of this war. And it got to be a response. It got to be a response. Bob, come on.
Yes, sir. As you were talking, I was just thinking, when it comes to judicial candidates like DA and judge and whatnot, I believe that those elections are nonpartisan. So in other words, they're not done by party. So that's not going to really separate people. It's based on the sole issues. So in order to start the process of getting rid of this brother, once again, boots on the ground, we need to solidify potential candidates, and then we need to meet with these candidates and start doing what's necessary in terms of creating a budget to go ahead and get him out of there, because he has to go, and organize the grassroots. We also need to do this to send across the nation a strong message that when you go against the sociological, biological, and political and judicial interests of African people, this is what we do. This is what happens to you.
Right.
We're serious about our life, and we're serious about our humanity. And we got to make this message clear. We're going to have to get these young people, all these gangbangers, and all of these people that haven't been involved in the process, register them to vote, to participate in this process. Because I tell you, if we don't, a whole lot of brothers and sisters are going to go to jail even more in 2023 that went in 2022.
No doubt. No doubt. And this is real time situations that we dealing with, Baba Kamal. I just had an 80-year-old black lady call me, Brother Lorenzo Sims, made the connection earlier this week. He made the connection. He said, Brother Pat, I got a lady on the line that uh, I think we can help her. And there was a lady on the line, her name was Zelfa. You know that's an old black lady with a name like Zelfa. Miss Zelfa had a situation where she was in Holmes County and she had been living out of Mississippi for a long period of time, but she was compelled to come home. And she understood her family history and her great great grandfather. This lady is late 70s, 80 years old. Her great great grandfather left some land that he never wanted to be transferred. You know, he never wanted the land to leave the family. So when she got home, her father, who is the son, the grandson, great grandson of this, uh, the original land owner, uh, had retained 120 acres, which Miss Zelfa lived on. And I want Brother Nick Belzer to hear this because I think Brother Nick Belzer has a very acute understanding of what we talking about when we talking about this land here in Mississippi. This lady was living on 120 acres of land, but she knew that her great great grandfather had more land, so she went and followed the course necessary downtown in the courthouses or wherever you discover this information at, and come to understand that her great great grandfather was the owner of 1,400 acres of land that had been taken to this very day has been taken by white people. So when she began her legal response, she hired an attorney, and she was saying that since she hired the attorney 10 years ago, she had made no progress. My immediate response was, Mama Zelfa, your attorney was bought out a long time ago. You talking about 1,400 acres of farmland. It's not just 1,400 acres of land. It's what's being done with the 1,400 acres of land that comes into play. It's the wealth that's being accumulated from the 1,400 acres of land. And you have no one that's willing to go to bat for you because of the financial ramifications that comes along with this and the wealth. So this woman's land has been taken. And she said, son, I don't know how I'm on the phone with you and this man. I said, you on the phone with me and this brother because me and this brother has exemplified that we care about black people. That's all the qualification we have. But at the end of the day, that's all the qualifications they need. Because these degrees ain't got Miss Zelfa her land back. The preacher ain't prayed her land back. So what's gonna get her land back? It's gonna get her land back. See, that's the question that should be posed to black people today. Because it's an issue of courage. I think we got enough knowledge. I think we got enough information. See, that's what we think consciousness is, but that's not consciousness. That's a part of it. James Small told me, he said that consciousness, Brother Patrick, is what you do. Just as plain as that. He said consciousness is exemplified in what you do, not what you know, what you do. Amos Wilson. Amos Wilson said people are not known for or remembered for what they know or what they knew, or people are remembered for what they build. And we keep letting the tools to build with get taken from us. So yes, sir, Baba Kamal and everybody listening, it's something that we have to do. It's a measure of courage that we not exemplifying with all this knowledge and all these degrees. It's a level of courage that we not exemplifying. That's what's missing. That's what's missing. Our approach to the problem. We think we're going to articulate our way out of this. You ain't going to do it. It's going to take some courage. Thank you, Sister Simone Bean. Sister Simone Bean, our own code candidate, has our financial backing. That's right. So, Sister Simone Bean, we glad to announce and glad that you're on today. These people have offered up the space for us to convene the 6th annual Black Liberation Movement Building Power. Did I freeze up?
No, you good.
Yeah. I was saying that Simone Bean and her husband has offered up the space for our Building Power Conference that we have every year. This year we'll be having it at the Kemet Coffee Shop. They have a magnificent space there, and we appreciate them for allowing us to have that space to convene the 6th annual Black Liberation Movement Building Power Summit, where Brother Nick Belzel would be there. Yourself, Baba Kamal, will most definitely will be there, and others will be there to help us. And I'm just glad to see Sister Simone on tonight. But that's where we at, Baba Kamal. You know,
Yes,
we're
sir.
talking about an issue of our humanity. And you know, I wanted to come on here because people were saying, what do we do now? What do we do now?
Yeah. And I hope by the time, and what's the date of the conference? Is September what, Brother Commander?
September the 16th through the 18th.
And we hope by that time that some of these potential DA candidates will come and join us and participate with us in this summit. That we will start having this dialogue. I like that term, our code candidates, to stay on code. I like that, the code candidates. And so
that's right.
that we could do that. And then you know what, we're focusing in on the district attorney race, but not only that, but we may have capitulated leadership in other places in the county that we might have to do as well, and just do a slate. And so, but the message has to be sent that our humanity will not be violated, not only by people who are outside of us, but especially by our own people. And so this will not be tolerated, and politically and then economically, as Brother Abdul Shahid stated, that we will be able to turn the guns of Navarro on anyone who is denying us our humanity and our human dignity. We'll have this ability. And so this is very, very crucial. It's sort of like turning lemons into lemonade. You know, you rendered a bad decision and you called yourself making us quit. But what you've done is you have gave us a mechanism and a reason to get rid of your ass and your capitulated leadership, and to send a message to anyone else who wants to deal in this kind of way.
That's right, Bob. That's right. Well, we're going to continue to organize, here on the ground, Mississippi. We're going to continue to reach out to our brothers and sisters across the nation.
Yes, sir.
As we, practically applicate, this effort here in Mississippi. We're going to continue to lock on with our grassroots leadership here in Mississippi. We're going to keep on pressing, toward the mark of this this thing. So I was trying to read that comment. I got to stop doing that. But anyway, yeah, we're gonna keep on pressing hard because it's something that we must do. I'm constantly reminded of the words of Kwame Ture when he said, "If a white man wants to lynch me," he said, "that's the white man's problem." He said, "But if the white man has the power to lynch me," he said, "that's my problem. And that's our problem." He said that racism is not an issue of attitude. Racism is an issue of power. And if black people are not building the power that's necessary to ward off and to defend ourselves and our children and our future against the power that has been inflicted on us for so long, then we're not doing our due diligence as human beings. We have lost our own humanity, and we not stand for our humanity. And like Baba Shabaka said, and I love the quote, he said that a people will be marginalized, oppressed, discriminated against, and even killed until they develop the moral character to stand up for their own humanity. And that's where we at right now. You know, that's where we should be going across the highways and the byways. Mississippi on the move is on the move. We on the move. We ain't talking, we on the move. We trying to convene in these black townships, and we trying to leave a spirit there. You know, we want to bring historical retention to the forefront. We need to talk about Fannie Lou Hamer and her fight. We done relinquished that. We need to talk about Ida B. Wells and her fight. We done relinquished that. We need to talk about Medgar Evers and all of the strong brothers and sisters that these people like Dwayne Richardson, they're not getting institutionalized in this understanding of our people's struggle when they coming out of Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and all these different places. And they come back into our black community with these degrees, and they compel us to vote for them as though they are true representation. This is not true representation. So we right in what it is that we doing. We magnificently right in what it is that we doing.
I share.
And we have to be bold about being right. We got to have the confidence. Marcus Garvey said, without confidence, you're already defeated. We got to have the confidence. And we'll be looking forward to connecting with the brothers and sisters in this state, connecting with the brothers and sisters throughout the nation. And Mississippi should be a model example. The very state where blood, sweat, and tears saturate the soul. We should be a model example to the world, because once we knock the Mississippi domino down, then all the other dominoes will fall. So we ain't going nowhere. We right here. We ain't going nowhere. We right here. And we're going to stand right here 10 toes down, and we're going to hash this thing out. So I want to thank y'all for tuning in tonight. Baba Kamal, did you have any closing words?
No, sir. We just get organized, and we know we have a plan to go about the task to remove capitulated leadership, starting with LaFleur County District Attorney.
That's right. That's right. And that would be an example for all capitulated leadership across Mississippi. That model, the model that we setting on the ground, and removing these iconic, non-represented people. We need to remove these people. I can't even stand it. Make me sick to my stomach to think about how, Dwayne, why wouldn't you want to fight right now? You know, why wouldn't you want to go to your boss and say, I'm prosecuting this with the warrant in your hand? Like Abdul Shaheed said this morning. He said, why did we even need a goddamn grand jury? The warrant was active. We just needed somebody to say, go get her. That's what we needed. We needed somebody to say, go get her. We needed a black DA. That's exactly. We had what we needed. We had it. Okay? Go get her. But due to that, what you call it, the buffer class, the bourgeoisie, nigga probably don't even live in Greenwood. I don't know. But anyway.
He will, though. He will. Oh, he will. Somebody's gonna tell it. Somebody gonna call and tell him tonight if they ain't already called him.
That's right.
That's what I want. I want him to be on notice that he's going.
Yeah.
You're going.
Yeah. And if he go, then all you other little underlings, you going too. You going too. Because Mississippi is on the move. Despite our history, all the millions of black people that fled out of here, we still got some black people here. And there's something special to be said about the black people that are still here. I told them down on Greenwood's lawn, I said, stop denying your Mississippi DNA. Stop denying your deoxyribonucleic acid. Stop denying that. It's something special about you. Just the sheer nature of your circumstances here in Mississippi make you special. The fact that you have endured and your leadership will be crafted right up out of you. So it's the time now, and we're going to organize around it. We're going to organize around it, and we're going to push a grassroots so powerful that we're going to move the electorate. We're going to move the electorate. We're going to determine who the elected will be. And just like Sister Simone say, we're going to get your ass on code. You're going to get on code. You're going to get your ass on code. That's where it's going to be. And until the next broadcast.
Yes, sir.
With the Mississippi Black Liberation Movement, speaking for Baba General Baba Kamal Kareem, I'm Brother Patrick Lumumba, Chief Organized Facilitator of Black Liberation Movement, and Brother Abdul Shaheed. Love you, brother. We'll be with you tomorrow night. And we love everybody that came in tonight to tune in and share this broadcast on your page. Let our people know that that day of our broke back, bent over posture is over. We have chosen our leaders. You'll be finding out who they are. We coming to a town near you. This weekend we'll be in Columbus, Mississippi, home of Baba Kamal Kareem, and we'll be met down there with some other brothers and sisters that's dedicated to fighting this fight. So we're gonna get up out of here. Thank y'all for tuning in tonight. Peace and power. No, power and peace, because there'll be no peace until we get some power. Power and peace. Thank y'all for chiming in tonight. Bless.
Thank you. I say power and peace.